What's up, dudes? Chooch out here in Moab, Utah on the B-Goat Commander High Torque. Now, this is a awesome route right here. We're about to ride with some Jeeps, with some Can-Ams, some off-road vehicles on a awesome course right here. And this is some steep terrain, guys. This is some very steep stuff. And the Commander High Torque was the perfect wheel for this. I do wish I had suspension. I really do wish I would have had the Master or the S20, to demo out here and show you guys, because I would have rode those wheels instead of this one. But I had the Commander High Torque, and this is what I was rocking with. I was out here cruising along with some side-by-sides, and this is a beautiful trail, guys. This is an iconic trail in Moab. If you come out here, then this is definitely something you got to do. This is really fun. It gets steep in some sections. I wasn't able to do the entire thing on the Unicycle.
What's up, dudes? Chooch out here on the Commander High Torque in Moab, Utah, dude. And I'm having a blast.
And it just was simply because I was getting way far out there, and I just didn't bring the proper supplies and stuff with me, guys. I took off down the trail, and I didn't really map out my whole ride, and I just kind of darted off the trail. I didn't have water with me. I didn't have any supplies. I didn't have a tire pump, anything like that, so I didn't want to go too far and really get in a bad situation. So that's why I chose to turn around whenever I got out, as far out as I did, because you can really get lost out here easily in Utah, especially in Moab. And it's because you can't you get kind of down in the canyons, guys, and then you can't really see too far. There's a lot of vantage points, but they're all about the same height, and so you can't really get to a mountaintop or anything necessarily, and everything looks the same. And you'll see in other parts coming up, they actually have like the trail is kind of marked out and stuff like that, and you can see tire marks and whatnot, and that is a really good indicator. But if you do get away from those and you do get off the trail, it can be a really bad situation out here, like seriously, because everything looks the same, and there's not really the mountains. You can see those off to the west out here, but it'd be to the east technically. I'm used to being in Colorado and looking to the west to see the mountains, but you see the mountains to the east here, and typically you can see them. But if it's an overcast day and you can't really see the mountains to your east as a reference point, then you can, it's pretty wild, dude. It's like being on Mars. Like it's like being on a different planet when you get over here to this part of Moab. So really the tire I have on this Commander High Torque is called it's called the Conti Scoot. It's a Continental tire, and it is very good, guys. It is super plush, and I absolutely love it. It's a street tire, but it works so well for gripping these rocks. It really does offer a ton of traction and just almost grabs these rocks like a claw going up. It's perfect for it. Got about 32 psi in here, so a little bit higher than I normally run. I wish it was actually a little bit lower than I did have it, because it was just a little bit too bumpy. I really wish, this is where you need suspension, guys. I really wish I had the Master or the S20 to ride here to show y'all on these trails, because I think it would have just been a stellar situation. I really do. I think this would have just been the perfect trails for either one of those suspension wheels to just fly on and really show you how that suspension can work. And so, again, a lot of people are like, well, he's just trying to sell you whatever wheel he has in hand. I'm not trying to sell you the Commander High Torque right here. I'm literally telling you that other wheels would be better in this situation. But I'm saying if you want to get any of those wheels, click the links below and use those links to get those wheels. But it doesn't matter to me if you buy the Commander High Torque or not. I'm just saying that this is a great wheel if you want to go for extremely long range rides, and you want to go out to the middle of nowhere like I'm doing here, and you want to ride all day long. I rode in 4 different states with the charge on this wheel. Literally 4 different states, and I rode for a long time. I rode in Utah, I rode in California, and I rode a little bit in Colorado, and then I also rode in Nevada as well. All on one charge with this wheel. All on one charge, guys. And I rode a lot. I literally got out. So this is 3,600 watt hours. On a road trip, I literally, let's see, 3,600 watt hours on this thing, guys. You can ride this wheel. I mean, you can ride this wheel. It's like having a full tank of gas in like a Super Duty pickup truck. It lasts a very long time. It goes forever, guys. You can literally get like 100 and something miles of range out of this thing. And so it gives you an extreme peace of mind. Whenever you're going out in a situation like this where you're just cruising trails and you're not really too sure of what situation you might end up in, because I didn't map out any of this. I was just kind of going with the flow and seeing where I went. And there's not a lot of wheels where I would really do that. I wouldn't ride all day and then take off on a trail like this with like 50% charge and just kind of go willy-nilly into it. Just be like, oh yeah, you know, whatever, I'm gonna follow these side-by-sides right here. But with the Commander High Torque, this thing rides just like an RS High Torque or a RS High Speed. They make a high speed version of this wheel too, which is awesome. The Commander is a great wheel, guys. And the reason you would want to buy the Commander is because it has more range than the Sherman, and I honestly like the way it rides better than the Sherman. It seriously does ride a little bit better than the Sherman. I like the overall feel of it way better. I don't like the overall look of it better than the Sherman. I think the Sherman looks way cooler. The Sherman with the roll bar, the Sherman's headlights, just the design of the Sherman, the whole way that thing looks. If I had this one sitting right next to the Sherman, do that Christmas, morning comparison again, going to them, and I was a kid running down the stairs and had these sitting under the Christmas tree. I had a Sherman and a Commander right next to each other. I'd go to the Sherman instantly, 10 times out of 10 as a kid, because it looks way cooler. But if I rode both of them for a little while, if I took them both out and I understood, the dynamics of the unicycles and everything, and spent about a week and a half riding them, I would go for the Commander every single time because it has more range and it just rides way better, guys. It seriously does. And if you want speed, just get the high speed version of the Commander. And then that one literally goes pretty much just as fast as the veteran Sherman. I think the top speed is maybe 2 miles an hour lower, but I think the overall ride style of it and the way that thing corners, the way it handles, the way it carves, is just so much better than the Sherman. The Sherman feels so bulky. The Sherman feels kind of like a tugboat, and this feels like a jet ski. And they're literally the same speed, and this one has even more range, literally more range in it. And this is the Commander High Torque right here. Perfect for this situation where you're going to be climbing up hills, where you're going to be varied terrain, everything like that. I rode this up the Rocky Mountains the other day, the Commander High Torque. I rode from the Denver metro area all the way to Ward, Colorado. Look that up on a map if you want to. It is a very long way, and then rode all the way back. But that's a lot of elevation gain. So the High Torque was perfect for that, absolutely perfect for that. But the high speed, guys, is going to be way better for the cities and stuff like that. If you're riding in a city, you're doing food deliveries, etc. Check this out. This is a whole story. Check out the stolen dinosaur track from Moab, Utah. It was right up here where I'm standing at. There was a pteropod, I think is the type of dinosaur it was, and there was a dinosaur print right up here where I'm standing at. And a guy came up here in the middle of the night with a crowbar and power tools and removed the damn thing from the ground. And he ended up getting in a whole bunch of trouble. And he ended up taking the fossil he removed from the ground and throwing it in the river. And they spent a fortune from, I think, 2 or 3 different states trying to find the thing. And a different department spent a bunch of money, and the guy got in a whole bunch of trouble for it. But yeah, came up here in the middle of the night and stole a fossil from the top of that peak right there. But back to what I was saying, for like food deliveries and all that type of stuff, if you're a guy that needs range, if you're a heavier set person, if you're a guy that wants to go on group rides, if you're a guy that goes out there and goes on long range rides, I'm talking typical rider going 65 miles plus on a standard ride. Or if you're a rider out there that has to carry your charger with you right now for your typical rides, that has to keep a charger in your backpack for your commute, whatever it is, if you get a Commander, you'll never have to recharge again. This thing, I think literally like, I think like 4 of these makes like almost a Tesla Model S, essentially, in battery equivalency. Like, there's a lot of battery power here. There is a ton of battery power in this thing. And honestly, it's a great peace of mind. Riding this, I mean, felt like no other wheel with the peace of mind when it comes to charge. I really, when you get below 50% on this thing, think about it, guys. You still have a ton of battery. You still have a ton of range left. And when you're below 50% on this thing, you still have like the range of an entire InMotion V12 left, essentially. I mean, it is crazy, guys. I mean, that is wild to think about. So, one thing you won't have on this wheel is any type of range anxiety. And range anxiety can be really bad, man. If you're in a situation where you don't have your charger with you, and you're out there one day where you can't really get an Uber ride, or many different factors where it's nice to have some extra range, man. It really is. It can really be nice to have some extra range. And I saw that with this wheel. And I did some of the longest rides I've ever done on the Commander High Torque, guys. I got a lot of stuff coming with this wheel, but it's fun. It's a fun wheel. I love the way it rides, and it's incredible to me that they made a wheel with 3,600 watt hours that just, it doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel bulky. It literally feels sportier than my M Super Pro. It feels really quite sporty and fast and nimble for having so many watt hours. And I really don't know how they did that. I really think it comes down to this wheel is just being well balanced. I think they didn't do what they did with a lot of the older wheels, where they would put like one battery pack on the side and then the motherboard on the other side. And the motherboard weighs a lot less than a battery pack. And so what they would do is kind of off kilter the wheels, the older ones that were like 2 or 3 years older. You would have a battery pack on like the left side that was in the same place where the motherboard that would be on the right side. And one thing they've done over time is put the motherboard up on the top and then put the same amount of battery packs on each side and put them in the same place, so the wheel is perfectly balanced. And that makes a huge difference, guys. It really makes a huge difference. When a wheel is well balanced, like this one is, I mean, it rides just astronomically better. It seriously does. And like the Sherman did have pretty good balancing in it and whatnot, but it just doesn't behave exactly like this one. I think the roll bars and whatnot being out as far as they are on the Sherman kind of mess up your turning. When you go to turn, think about it. It's like the inertia. If you have like your arm out and you go to spin around, you can't really like go to spin around as fast if you have your arms like kind of tucked in. If you're like on ice skates or something like that, like spinning around in circles, you know what I'm saying? So if you have those like bars that are farther out on that veteran Sherman like that, that it's not much weight, but it is weight there. And so when you're going to turn and whatnot, I think it kind of does make a difference, guys. So they've really made all the weight kind of around the fulcrum point on this wheel, which makes it just, I mean, it rides so good for having the range it does. You would love the feel of this wheel. I think anybody would. I think the only downfall of this wheel, guys, is just the look of it. I mean, it looks like shit compared to other ones. I mean, the internals are great. I think that seriously, I think the internals are great on it. I think that everything else is nice, but it just, in 2022, I don't think a lot of people want to buy a full plastic wheel like this for $4,000. And I totally get that. I really don't think that just people are looking to spend $4,000 on a full outer plastic shell kind of box looking wheel like this, even though the internals are what make this thing worth $4,000. The fact that you can ride, you have 3,600 watt hours on this thing, is why they kind of skimped on everything else. They had to spend a lot of money for the cells packed in this thing. So if you want an electric unicycle that's high performance with the absolute maximum range that they make right now, this is what you want to get. There's literally no downfall to the shell. It's a hard shell on this thing. I think the build quality on it's great. The LCD display does what it's supposed to do without being, overzealous and going touchscreen and all that. I don't think you need all that stuff. But this thing is a performance long-range wheel. It does that well. It's not trying to be a showroom wheel. It's not trying to make a bunch of metal components. I think it does what it's supposed to do. I think you'll be able to get an upgradable shell when you need to get one. Or if you crash this thing, the shell is not going to be very expensive at all. It's rock solid. The thing is, it's nice, solid. The headlights are bright on it. You can pick it up easily with the way it's set up with the two handle holds on the top of it. Very easy to pick up. The charging ports are in a logical spot where you can get straight to them. They're right on the top. You can plug in very easily. 2 charging ports. The on and off button is in a very, I know that's weird to say, but you see the on and off button. It's literally right there in front of the screen, and it's in a logical spot. It's not in a place where if you put a seat on here, it's accidentally going to press the power button down. And the power button is in a place where it's not going to get water thrown into it or anything like that. Just little things, man. They didn't go overboard with this wheel. They didn't try to do anything that would be just, extreme, extraordinary, that's going to cost you money that you don't need to spend. They literally made this a long-range, no-frills performance wheel that a lot of people want to get. It might not be up everybody's alley, but there might be a lot of people that want to check this thing out and get it. I don't think they'll be disappointed in it at all. I think it does exactly what it's supposed to do. High torque and a ton of range. And then the high speed one is going to be high speed and a ton of range. So that's what you get with this wheel. But anyways, dudes, I love it. Got the Continental tire on here. The Grizzly pads. You can check out the Grizzly pads below. I got a link discount below for the Grizzly pads. Love them on this wheel. You got a huge, nice flat area on the side of this thing to put all your power pads on there. And then, like I said, rocking the Continental tire at 32 PSI. Anyways, dudes, it's been Chooch. If y'all want to check out any electric unicycles, be sure to use the links below. I'll see you dudes in the next one.